Welcome back. It's now 44 minutes after 7 p.m. and it's time for the Formula One segment. Yes, we're talking the F1 2021 season. And this is the pre-season launch, part one, right here on Friday Night Live with ST. In studio, Yusuf Sahib, our F1 enthusiast. Yusuf, assalamu alaikum. And clearly representing your team.
So this is a very
marketing, branding.
Brand awareness, but this was a special gift.
Oh, okay.
From somebody very special.
Clearly, they must be very special to me.
So I don't know if our peeps can see, but yeah.
Yeah, well, clearly, it's an awesome skipper. Anyway, welcome to it. It's time for the Formula One session, and we're talking the pre-season build-up. And obviously, the teams have launched some of the vehicles. Aston Martin making their return to Formula One after about over 60 years or so. Also, Williams and their new vehicle, the FW43B. We're going to be chatting to Yusuf about that as well. And Mercedes and how you think they are going to fare. Obviously, you are a hardcore Mercedes fan. I understand that. But we are going to be talking about balancing and also about well, and as you saw in the background, obviously there was the Aston Martin vehicle that was obviously launched, and Lance Stroll is the driver and Sebastian Vettel. Now, obviously, Yusuf, this is a fantastic looking vehicle, and they're making a return. Now, we know that obviously last season they were the team in pink, as I understand, as I'd like to call them, because they were the only pink Formula One car. I never thought the Formula One car.
Sometimes called the pink Mercedes.
Yeah, the pink Benz, right? Because it uses the Mercedes engine. Now, Aston Martin Racing coming into Formula One. What do you make of their return to, the pinnacle of F1?
I mean, as a starting point, obviously, it's great for Aston Martin to have them back. I mean, they're returning after 60 somewhat years to Formula One. So, just having the name Aston Martin there, it's prestige. It's associated with the James Bond films. Yes. In fact, James Bond, it was Daniel Craig.
Sean Connery, that's what you're going for.
He actually gave a little clip just before the launch of the Aston Martin AMR 21, and rightfully speaking, it would not be a launch of an Aston Martin without, James Bond and, of course, Daniel Craig being there. So in that sense, obviously, it's huge. It's great for them. I mean, we saw the pictures now of the car. It looks absolutely stunning with that livery, that famous green coming back.
Very similar to the Petronas colors, I must add. Very similar, though, although it's not bottle green.
I mean, striking resemblance, obviously, to the Mercedes car. We do know that Racing Points obviously modeled their F1 car, the 2019 Mercedes, and so all these cars now that we're seeing is basically evolution of last year's cars.
Now we're talking the Aston Martin vehicle. What's so different about this car? Obviously, they want to make a name for themselves. They want to stamp their brand on the F1 stage this season after 60 years. What have they done that's different compared to all the other vehicles? I mean, Ferrari is yet to launch their vehicle. What do you think the Aston Martin F1 team have changed, or what have they come with innovation?
Well, so now there's a system called tokens, and each team is allocated 2 tokens. So you use your tokens to,
develop. Cash it out?
No, you cash it out by obviously developing a certain part of the car.
Okay.
And since you only have the 2, you'll decide obviously which area of the car you want to focus on. Now, Aston Martin and a few other teams, obviously, they, for example, Aston Martin is using, Mercedes engines, Mercedes gearbox, and of course, the suspension then as well. So they get that free, and that doesn't count as a token being used up. So they've obviously got last year's Mercedes suspension on their car, the 2020. The 2020 suspension, and of course, they've got the engine and they've got the gearbox in there as well. So they would have put their focus squarely on the chassis of the car, developing the chassis. Obviously, we know there's new regulations regarding the floors of the cars. They had to obviously be taken in a little bit and remove all those little clever bits and pieces.
It's amazing how in a space of about a year and a half or two, the Formula One space has changed. I mean, sporting, the sports code in general has changed with this whole COVID pandemic, new regulations. We've seen in football, VAR. What's different this year in F1? as you mentioned right now with the Aston Martin vehicle and the technologies that they bring in it.
So this was something actually we touched on sometime last year. I wouldn't know exactly when, but one of the things that we did touch on was the usage of the wind tunnel.
Yes.
And obviously, given the fact that Mercedes finished first in the constructors,
They had the edge.
it means that they use the wind tunnel the least now from everybody else. And of course, because Williams finished last in the constructors standing, they get to use the wind tunnel the most. So that's something which I think Formula One, FIA, they're obviously trying to bridge a gap.
It's similar to football. If I can come in, it's like a FIFA fair play. If you put an analogy to it, basically.
I think the focus. I think if we look just beyond this year, even the focus now is to try and take away the element of the car, and bring in the element of just the drivers. And now we can see just how good a driver actually is. Because we had a classic example last year where we saw George Russell jump from a Williams. Yeah, he jumped in from a Williams, left Williams, jumps into the Mercedes, and he was on course to winning the race. It was obviously,
many enthusiasts and fans alike were saying that, you could put anyone in a Mercedes AMG Petronas team vehicle and they can win a race for you. It doesn't have to be Sir Lewis Hamilton, as they say. There was this big talk. But clearly now it's going to be about the drivers. And talking about drivers now, the Aston Martin team, Lance Stroll, Sebastian Vettel coming in. I mean, Aston Martin have really scooped up, I'd say, some talent here. I mean, obviously Vettel comes with pedigree. He's won championships. He's got experience. He's been at the best. So obviously he's going to lead the pack.
Sebastian Vettel's CV or resume, it speaks volumes and it speaks for itself.
Yes.
When you see somewhere in that CV where it says 4-time world champion, you stop right there and the man has the pedigree.
Yeah.
Yes, he hasn't enjoyed the best of time in the last 2 or 3 seasons with Ferrari, but that we also know it got to do a lot with the relationship with Ferrari. But moving away from that,
and
he's
also
now
the
got
car,
a fresh
that's
break.
just my opinion. But anyway,
he's got a fresh break now, a new team, a new environment. It's Aston Martin back in Formula One. So he's a 4-time world champion. He's a multiple race winner. He knows how to win. He knows how to lead a team. And I think, as you quite rightly pointed out, Aston Martin is trying to now, secure the right personnel. And, if you talk about work ethic of Sebastian Vettel, he echoed a lot of what Michael Schumacher used to be. Exceptionally hard work with the engineers, work with the guys from Pirelli,
teamwork,
and
coordination.
Just finding every way that they can to squeeze out every tenth in performance. I mean, this is racing cars,
of course,
and where you can squeeze out a tenth of a second, that's mighty. So and this is what Sebastian gives in terms of feedback in the way he communicates with the team. So as a leader, could you have found somebody better? Probably, but at the moment, I think you've got one of the finest drivers out there with Aston Martin. As I said, not in the greatest of spaces, but I think this new environment.
I think it's a good move for him. I think he needed change is always good.
He needed a break from Ferrari. I think the way the relationship went with Ferrari, and then the focus going towards Charles Leclerc,
the new prodigy coming
the new
out.
prodigy. I mean, and no disrespect to Charles. I mean, he's exceptional. He's great. He's shown so much of potential. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again: this guy's going to be a world champion. I don't know when, but at some point in his life, he's going to win a world championship. But for Seb, I think
now talking about championship, and we mentioned earlier where Williams finished last season. Now they've launched their FW43B vehicle, and what do you make of their launch? I mean, they were quite bold.
So
they were one of the first teams in the week to launch.
Yeah, so I mean, they went with colors like the white, the blue, the red, and a bit of yellow as well. So I think that's in keeping with the spirit of the older Williams cars. 80s, 90s, that kind of
Rothman sponsorship kind of
just
thing.
Trying to incorporate everything in there and present a car. And I mean, obviously, Sir Frank Williams, who eventually had to relinquish, ownership of the team to the Dorilton Capital Group, and they still want to follow and keep Williams' legacy alive. It's no secret that they've had a difficult time, especially in this turbo hybrid era, and given how far off the pace they were last year, it's difficult to say, how how good they'll be this year, and that's being realistic about things as well, because as much as you launch a new car, it's still about trying to find that performance, and I'm not sure that they would have found that much of performance.
And I think also it boils down to the teamwork, coordination between the pit crew,
and they've now got Jenson Button.
Yes,
was a previous F1 world champion in 2009 with Braun. So they've got Jenson Button as their advisor. So that will add some impetus, into that team. But again, it's a transition, and we know next year is the major rule changes. So I'm pretty sure teams like Williams, Haas, and a few others in that midfield.
You think Alfa Romeo would fit into that bracket?
I think Alfa Romeo will fit in that bracket as well, where they'll be focusing more on 2022.
Now, we are diverting towards Mercedes-Benz. Now, obviously, we're going to see a very big smile on your face here. Obviously, you're going to show how white your teeth are. But an important aspect is the balancing this season, I think. Yeah. And they're not doing a shakedown test. Now, for those who don't know what a shakedown test is, take us through what exactly a shakedown is. No, we're not shaking it down. My producer
can always shake it down, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so a shakedown test is just literally an opportunity for the teams to do some filming. So you've got a new car, you want to get the driver in the car, the car leaving the pits, coming in, doing a pit stop, the car going all over the circuit.
And I want to show the viewers this in a moment. Exactly what we're talking about here.
Okay. Probably
you should be doing commentary here, man. I mean, this guy should work for I need to speak to FIA. I mean, what's going on here? I mean,
I know if you speak to them and we there, and they got the both of us,
it's got to be ST approved, right? So let's just put it there.
Sarfaraaz.
Yeah, exactly.
Sarfaraaz,
exactly. Sarfaraaz. Now, obviously, you mentioned what the shakedown test is, etc. You spoke about the wind tunnel. Williams going to benefit from that. Will Ferrari have an edge this season over Mercedes? Last season they really fell off the pace. We saw Mercedes pick up the pace, and Ferrari was slacking. They had their problems. Leclerc obviously showed what he can do. Where do you think obviously the defining factor is going to be for the two teams now, Ferrari and Mercedes?
I think for Mercedes it's very simple. Try and stay at the front of the field. So keep that rate of development up to a point where they can stay, as the class of the field. My apologies for that. Yes, they've launched their car, but I can tell, and I'm sure many already would know this, but the car that we've seen is not going to be the car that Mercedes race with come race day.
Okay.
So in fact, they're still using the 2020 floor car, the floor on the 21 car. And so that floor has to be changed and be a 21 floor, which obviously the regulations has changed there. So the rationale behind that is...
You can see the passion he talks with.
Yeah, the rationale behind that is obviously they want to hide certain developments and progress that they brought on the car, and they want to do so for as long as possible. So that's where Mercedes are. Coming to Ferrari, as you're right, they had a dismal season last year. Lack downforce, lack grip through the corners, lack traction out of the corners. And then the power units have just been, down. So for them, they'll be looking to improve the car all round, engine-wise, trying to find more group five.
Well, as we said in the intro, this is obviously the part one of the pre-season unveiling of the vehicles. And on the next Formula One segment, we're going to highlight what we haven't covered tonight. Yusuf Saib, Jazakallah khair for your time tonight on the Formula One segment. As always, my man. And yeah, but later on, we're still going to be talking motorsports. It's now 8 p.m. on the dot. Stay tuned to Salam Media. We'll be back shortly.